All the stuff with him and Talia would be so much better if we hadn't seen them fucking in like episode 2.
Yeah.
Because it makes kind of it all pointless. Like, yeah, I just dab her whenever I want. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with, well, it turns out to be the penultimate episode, because what I didn't realize, and was pointed out to me, sorry, I don't remember who it was on the Patreon, that this episode is not the last episode, despite the fact we are having one less episode than was in Standard Edition. That there are 2 episodes left. Essentially, we're doing, what was the movie? The last Harry Potter one. We're doing the last Harry Potter movie where we separate into two movies instead of one.
Yeah, we're doing the splitting of the episode thing, which is fine, I guess. For some reason, I wonder if they just simply split it and there'll be shorter episodes, or they padded them out somehow. Let me see. Oh, they seem to be about the same length as an average episode, so...
I have no idea. I'm not actually weighing in on anything. I'm just throwing it out there. Anyway, going through our normal course of events, I brought this up to Lessons earlier. I'm doing something with the board, so there is no board here for this episode. But I will go over the board changelog because there's only really one thing, which is Copeland died.
Well, and everyone in Rachel, yeah.
Yeah, but who gives a fuck? Name one other character that was named there.
No,
not I can't because there wasn't one. Just no, I'm not going to do that. I'm done playing your games, Theta. This is it. I'm putting my foot down. 49 episodes in. I'm not gonna do it. Alright, well, anyways, we of course come with notes. We discussed beforehand. You have more, which means you go first.
Yeah. I cannot promise that they're quality notes, but they're notes.
I can promise that mine aren't.
Yeah. So episode, or phase, 48, Ray. We start with the episode, Durandal saying, oh, the question is not this, the question is not that. And then he doesn't say what the question is. What is the issue, Durandal? What is it? It's like, the question does they have numbers, or do they have firepower? And then he doesn't say. I'm like,
I think the implication is that they have Kira.
Guess?
The ultimate coordinator. Well, I mean, ultimately,
yeah.
It's the meta commentary that I'm always making when I watch this. It's like, oh, cool, they have a fleet. Who fucking cares? The main characters are over here. And it doesn't matter that we have ships either. It's the Gundams. Right?
Yeah.
It's always... I was literally thinking, I didn't take a note about this, but if I was in the universe, I would just make a bunch of fast-moving carriers so just to carry the Gundams. Right? Get in and get out, because you don't need to stay for the fight either. Just drop the Gundams off and go. Because no other ship matters anymore. Well, no other ship matters anymore. Yeah. If you're in a ship and the Gundams show up, you're fucked.
Unless you're the Archangel of the Minerva, and even then they get shot too.
No, that's the point, though. They're not good because they're those ships. They're good because all of the other main characters are on them.
Yeah.
Plot protection is like a shield. It extends, and the more of you are in one place, the bigger the shield gets.
And I do have a note about that, but I'm sure you do have a note about that too.
Probably not. I don't know. I've said this before in like my solo stuff. I'm getting a little bit more dense. I don't know if the medicine has an effect on me. Like, I had to watch one scene of Apothecary Diaries like 7 times. I was like, there's something here. I'm just not getting it. I gotta keep watching until I get it. Well, I took my notes on this, and a lot of the fighting was just, I got nothing to say. It's fighting.
Yeah. That's why I don't have a lot of notes.
Alright, my first note. I think it was a missed opportunity to not have the weapon on the mobile fortress be the Neutron Stampeder from the start of the season. We see that ship-mounted version of the super weapon fire to protect the plants again, then melt down. could have brought it back as a refined version of itself at the end. A gun that they show us at the start of the series being brought back for the last episodes of the series. Instead, they just bring back the weapon from last season, as though that thing was allowed to be kept after all the negotiations, and they just built it into a fortress without anyone noticing.
Yeah, apparently nobody knows. Well, I guess. Yeah, I mean, my comment and your comment go to two things that we noticed. Missed opportunities. There are plenty of, right? It's like, oh, this is a neat idea. Watch it go away. And two, not explaining anything, which I haven't.
Well, I mean, another element, I guess, goes into what I'm saying about they just built this thing into the fortress without anyone noticing, is the element of we're not that far from Earth when we're in space. Like, we're maybe just a little bit beyond the moon's orbit, which means that we're in range that anybody with like a cheap ass telescope can see what's going on in space. Like, not your backyard astronomers, like dollar store telescopes could see what the hell was going on. Guys, I think it doesn't look like they're getting rid of the Genesis thing. I think they're just moving it. Like, how is anything like the fact that the first super weapon had that cloaking device?
I was going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, it showed us that, oh, maybe that's how they did it. You know what? Be real great if this mobile fortress had a cloaking device, not just, what's that thing? And it rises up from the other side of the moon from the fleet, and they're like, what's that? It's like, how do you not see that from anywhere else? What are you talking about? What's that? If that thing if instead Durandal had just been somewhere, and we were like, where the fuck is Durandal? And then here in this episode, it just uncloaks in front of them. It's like, oh, fuck, you know? Instead, no, it just rises up from behind the moon, but at the same time, that's in full view of everyone in the plants, so all the plants knew this thing was here. Plus, people come and go from the plants all the time. Plus, there's colonies all over the moon, some of them facing towards the plants. It's like...
I mean, they early on, they're like, oh, yeah, we have these half-made cylinders just floating strategically around the moon. I guess we missed them. We were looking somewhere else, right? Nobody went like, we should keep an eye on that for some reason. At least it's just debris that could fall on somebody, you know?
I mean, yeah. Well, yeah, remember back early on in the season when we're talking about where, in fact, the Janus 7 ruins were? And I remember I brought up the argument that they had monitoring stations to monitor shit in orbit, and I don't recall that being indicated on there. Like, were those things on that monitoring station? Was that a really early clue that we missed?
I mean, I'm still saying that Durandal knew because of the mapping that we showed that had all the positions around the moon. So he knew, but then he excuses as like, yeah, we were just too busy with Earth. We were not paying attention to the moon. I'm like, and I said now, these things have engines. You could use them to ram somebody with it, like a plant or Earth or a lunar colony. These things are dangerous. These are big, heavy objects that we already proven in this universe that when you throw them at the Earth, they do a lot of fucking damage.
I guess at the end of the day, though, they are eminently destroyable. It's become very easy to destroy them. Well, I didn't write it down as a note, but apparently, I guess I didn't notice this before, that the meteor system, the thing that upgrades the Gundams, is essentially Wing Zero. Because when he's like cutting the thing open and just like, double sprays across and cuts it in half, it's like, wow, that is exactly Wing Zero.
Yeah. But at least you would keep an eye on it, right? So like,
Well, just I mean, the problem is that we couldn't keep an eye on it because we didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
It was just introduced out of nowhere.
Yeah, to my next note then. Well, Durandal and Ray are competing on who's the biggest or best gaslighter with Chin as the prize, I guess. Because they, Ray is talking to Chin, like, oh, you gotta, no matter what happens, you gotta trust in what Durandal says. And then Durandal asks him, like, hey, are you okay? Buddy, are you there? Because, hey, we have this future together. And they just tag team Chin, and Chin is like, okay, I guess I'll do whatever you say, man.
Not much of a competition. Durandal is clearly the winner. Durandal has gaslit all of humanity. Ray, I didn't write a note about it, but I thought about it. Ray failed to gaslight Luna Maria.
Yeah.
Because that's the last thing where we're having a conversation, come back later. And then, she's wandering off and now she's being talked to by her sister. I have notes about that later. But the element now that she is in doubt, and if he had gaslit her along with Shin at the same time, whatever she's gonna do, clearly she's gonna do something, probably might not have happened. So his failure to gaslight is gonna cost them some shit. I made fun of the whole Destiny plan presentation for having Gibril in it, but overall, not a bad presentation. I liked its points and where it was going. Granted, it gives no actual information about how things could be done, more like an introductory mission statement. I think Mr. DNA from Jurassic Park gave us more information.
Yeah.
Dino DNA.
I think that it's propaganda, right? Very crude propaganda, but people
I don't.
Talks out there like
it's not propaganda. It's just an introduction because it's like being broadcast to everybody on Earth. It's like, here's what we're planning to do, but here's no actual details about what we're planning to do.
Well, remember that the way they have a little animation, it's like chibi. They have a chibi Gibril and they have a chibi Durandal, and Gibril's like talking down like he's a boss, or Durandal talking down to him. And he's like, oh no, and then some people come in and they arrest Gibril and take him away, and now he's the boss. It's like, aha, that's it's like, we all had bad bosses. Now the good boss is in charge, right?
Yeah, I mean that's not Gibril. That's just sales. Like,
yeah, but it was supposed to be Gibril. I mean, the animation was, Durandal on one side and Gibril on the other.
Literally, it was part of the thing that I just read. I said, hey, I just made fun of the fact it had Gibril in it. You don't have to explain to me that it was Gibril. I'm saying that's not propaganda, though. That is just good salesmanship.
Still propaganda, though.
It's not propaganda. It's literally, by your definition, every commercial is propaganda. It's not propaganda. They're just trying to sell you on it. This isn't like, by the way, Earth Alliance fucking sucks. This is propaganda. Cool, this is the moment now we have to be sidelined by you Googling definitions. Can't just move on, right?
Oh, I mean, it's propaganda. Propaganda by Wikipedia is communication that is primarily used to influence or persuade an audience to further an agenda, which may not be objective. I would make
the argument right here then that it may not, because there's no information. It's not objective because there's no information given. Sorry, I have a banana in here.
May not be objective. May not.
Yeah, I'm saying it's not objective. It's not objective because there's no information.
I mean, yeah. Well, it's like, oh, I'm the good boss and this is the plan. You guys should sign up for it, It's
not the boss thing is more about, hey, are you unhappy with where you are right now? You might be that way because society is that way. We'll come in and replace things to make you happy. That's what that thing was about. It's not that it was Gibril, because that's just so fucking weird. That would be counter propaganda if it was. Like, why did they put Gibril? Who animated? How long has this been animated? Like, how do they even know what Gibril looks like? Anyway, my point being is that it's so fucking weird to put Gibril in there. That's not the point that it is Gibril. It's just the whole boss scenario. Hey, you might actually be more able to be the boss than your actual boss was. We'll find that out for you, and then we'll put you into the position you actually should be in. It's nothing about actual Durandal and actual Gibril. For some reason, I guess they had chibi models on hand.
Oh, they have the AI art revolution, and they just sort of like,
again,
boss, Gibril.
It's the if you were living in the world thing, right? Like,
yeah,
isn't that the guy who killed our entire family over there in Geneva or Berlin or wherever the fuck? What? Why did they animate him like as a cutesy character? I'm upset. How long have they been working on this? Like, have they been? It's like months, like before the Berlin thing, and then they put that on, like.
See, now that's why people were punching their faces. Are like, the hell is this? You're for this? I hate chibi things.
I mean, even in the realm of like marketing, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm going to use Hitler in the advertising. Like, what? Come
We're
again?
gonna punch him in the face. Yeah, okay, but still Hitler. It's what the hell are you doing? Oh, we're gonna kick his ass. Doesn't matter. It's still Hitler.
Then again, they do use Hitler in advertising in like some places in the South Pacific, so not everyone gets the note.
Now, I'm still in you. I jumped into the other episode for some reason. Talking about Durandal. Actually, oh man, I knew I started in the wrong place. I'll have to go back. Sorry. To each according to their ability, to each according to their need. A quote often credited to Karl Marx, but in fact belongs to socialist Louis Blanc, who reworked Marx's original words. Seems to be the idea behind Durandal's plan, for using genetics to determine each person's ability. And I say that as a context for something I will say in the future.
Okay.
Just to put it out there.
All right. I mean, I got no notes. I got no notes on that note specifically. Remember, this is the I don't know. Here's the thing here. Sort of a meta note, not actually the note that I'm about to read. I appreciate that this show is at least nuanced enough that we're both falling on different sides of the argument. Granted, you think I'm fucking insane for some reason, but at the same time...
The genocide part, yeah.
Yeah, because that's obviously been my point the whole time. Pro-genocide. That's the hill I decided to stand on. Yes, you've adequately read me here that everything I've been talking about has been leading to my pro-genocide speech. Let me get to that. That's my next note, in fact. How genocide is the route we should go down. I really thought the audience would love this one, so...
Yeah.
I believe it was Mussolini that once said, separate the speaker from the speech, right? No. Ugh, you've broken me down. No, I don't know. There's also the element of the fact it's a fictional world, right? And I can separate myself from reality to a bunch of people that are drawn in colors that don't exist.
The people don't exist, but the colors do. But yeah.
Well, I meant more so the fact that if like somebody walked up to you and they looked like a character from an anime, you would instantly know that they're not real.
I would freak out. Probably.
I've seen enough shows based on like Roger Rabbit and shit. I wouldn't freak out if a cartoon walked up to me. I would just probably think that the drugs are having an effect.
Oh, that's true also, yeah.
Yeah.
The less I say about that, the better.
I just, it's a separation from reality. Like, if I was like, hey, did you watch the news the other day where they discussed all of us getting genetically tested to see what we're good at? I'm like, huh. But at the same time, if I have a discussion about this, it is like hypothetical, right? This is no different than me saying, well, now that we've killed the king, I think we should probably talk about what we need to do with the kingdom next, right? It's all hypothetical. We can no longer afford to let him do as he wishes with our world. It's statements like these from our main characters that pushes me away from them every time. For one thing, among characters in the show, the only people using possessive terminology about Earth so far have been Blue Cosmos, our pure and blue world. So hearing Kigali use the term our world is a bit off-putting through the context the show has given us so far, and not for nothing, just a bit exclusive, implying what? That this isn't also Durandal's home because he's a coordinator? It just has implications that are off-putting. Secondly, the idea that what you think is automatically right for everyone. The scene starts by indicating that only Orb and Scandinavia have rejected the plan. I'm going to assume that the Kingdom of Scandinavia is a combo of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland, meaning that Kigali is speaking for 1.6% of Earth's inhabitable landmass, or ironically, 1.86% of the global population. Again, nobody else has said no yet. Essentially, 98% of the Earth has either abstained or is waiting to make a choice. In that context, Kigali's statement feels self-important, to the point of being just like Durandal herself. A small minority deciding what is best for everyone, outside of their ability to choose. For the sake of argument, imagine that the Destiny plan wasn't the horrible thing that you think it is. That it's just something you could agree with. Then some world leader comes around and starts a military campaign to stop it from happening, imposing their ideals on you without consideration for what your vote in the matter might be. It's just as bad in reverse.
Okay, I'm going to read my note on that because it's probably very similar. Once again, it makes sense for Orb to refuse the plan, at least until they get a chance to fully study it and perhaps put it to a referendum. But then to say that you have to fight even before makes his next move, well, it's...
No, sorry, my next note is about the we have to fight no matter what from Kira, so the fact that you're like bridging the two things together in yours.
Well, I'm bridging in a different because I guess I'll jump to my next note.
Well, just real quick, the element that I want to also put out there right now is that my notes are essentially from, even though we watched episode 48, imagine that my mind is still back in episode 47 from before Durandal goes fucking insane. So,
yes,
I'm still thinking about this in the logical fashion of, hey, we all should talk about this. Let's get together. Let's discuss the plan. You know, this is a multi-generational thing, so it doesn't matter if you disagree with me right now. We kind of have to work this out in a long-term goal. So, him going off kilter and just super weapon time, you know, I need to force them to do my plan now, even though generations are going to have to agree with this after I'm dead. Yeah. So my point of view still is very much, what if Durandal didn't go crazy?
Okay, let me finish because, of course, in the very next scene, Durandal proves Lack is right by using Requiem on Arsa Shell while proclaiming that essentially you're with him or against him. And this was said, by the way, while he's talking to one of his humans, like, oh yeah, the president of the enemy leader, the president, is trying to reach out to us. Oh, well, they're deploying ships. Well, okay, the war technically is not over yet, so that kind of makes sense that they will deploy some defenses around their own base at least, right? Don't want to get caught in the ground and, I don't know, get lasered to death, right? Which is what happens. Well, kind of, right? It's like, they want to talk, oh, well, he has no choice. Logos is not only giving him orders. Let's use the super weapon. I'm like, but you can just order him to stand down. And if he doesn't stand down, okay, then you use the laser weapon.
Well, remember, he also says when he's asking them to power it up, well, we need to use it one more time anyways. So it doesn't seem like he knew that he needed to make an example of somebody with a super weapon, but didn't have a plan. Yeah, he didn't have a plan on who to use it on yet, but he said, we need to use it at least one more time anyways. So he was always planning to shoot somebody with this thing.
Yeah. Which, again, doesn't make sense. He had to do it. Yeah, had to use it anyway. It's like, oh, we can just.
That's what I'm saying. He went fucking crazy. It does not fit.
We have
Here's the thing. We do have a comment later. And I am so incensed by Fenrir's comment. Sorry, Fenrir, but your findings are wrong to me. And so, sorry, he defends Durandal's actions as being as written. It's the same character he's always been. And it's like, no. I feel like the only reason we're taking these actions is because the counter on remaining episodes is getting too low. Durandal has been written. Oh, sorry, we'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah. I don't need to jump ahead.
So I already did a couple of them, so your next note then.
Kira saying that they all must be thinking we have no choice but to fight puts him in the same boat as Kigali. Again, 98% of the world hasn't weighed in on the matter, and the protagonist of the show's opinion is automatically that everyone will want to fight against this. At least Kira has the presence of mind to consider that the Destiny plan would at least end war, despite how much he hates it. Of course, Lacus jumping in with saying that they have no choice but to fight, because Destiny takes away our hopes and dreams. Again, something that's never been implied. Not even Durandal's backroom conversations say that. Not for nothing, but Destiny tends to be a big part of the hero's journey, lest we forget. Also, I'd argue that a lot of people's hopes and dreams revolve around being happier, which is one of the main tenets of the Destiny plan. her constant argument, her constant argument of all we'd do is just exist has no basis in reality for me. The read I got from her is that a well-ordered society removes your ability to struggle, and that struggle is something worth fighting for. The visual metaphor of lifting rocks off of a flower, the real metaphor should be the downtrodden homeless, worse than forgotten, abandoned and looked down upon. We should fight for their right to struggle? The Destiny Plan seeks to lift up all of humanity to make the world a better place. Lacus's world is a world where those flowers covered by rocks wilt and die because no one comes to save them. An uncaring and cold world that we've always lived in. At least Durandal's new world has some promise.
Yeah, but it comes to, again, the problem is that this show so badly articulates these arguments, and they're even out of order. That's one of the problems. It's like, again, if Durandal had gone first and then they make those arguments in face of what Durandal has done, like, okay, Durandal is going to impose this.
But it's been the part, sorry, you said in the face of what he's done. That's the problem, is they set Durandal up for failure from the beginning by implying that he's responsible for Break the World, which means that any conversation we have about the Destiny Plan is always going to be couched in, he's guilty. Which means we're never going to have a valid conversation about the legitimacy of what Destiny could be.
They don't even, they imply, even the implication is very weak, because again, a better written show would have said, okay, we're investigating and we found these links, right? It's just like, it happened, we found a file about this guy, and that's it.
No, I'm saying that I'm not couching it on the element of what's been written, because you're proposing that, hey, if we all had a conversation about this, then we could go over what the details are and what the problems would be. And I'm saying, even then, in the back of your head, you'd be thinking, oh, this guy's a mass murderer. So never am I going to think, oh yeah, this is the guy I need to side with. You're always going to be like, well, whoever's opposing him is obviously the hero, because we don't go into the gray on this. You're either the good or the bad. And this guy is a fucking mass murderer. I know that, so this is never going to be the good thing. So we're never going to have a valid discussion about this, because in the back of your head, you're always going to know, oh, right, that's a Hannibal Lecter. You know, no matter how much sense Hannibal Lecter makes, at the end of the day, you're going to remember, oh, that's right, he's going to eat me.
Yeah, don't vote for the leopards who eat your face party, because they're going to eat your face.
Oh, no, they're just talking. He's trying to bait you into things, so he's going to have a better position. Oh, that's right, they're going to eat my face.
Yeah. My next note, because I'm a little out of order here. Yeah. And you talked about this. He was like, I'm right about it. Yeah, Ray's a clone, and a clone of Rao, or Moo's father?
It's going to be Rao.
Rao. So he's a clone of a clone. I guess Randall couldn't fix that problem for him, either for Rao or for Ray, right? Because he still has to depend on the pills, and he says he's dying. So, you know.
I mean, we don't know when he was cloned in the time span, because the element being, well, maybe this is just the flaw of all clones. We don't really know any other clones.
I mean, but that's the thing, is if you can modify the genetic material while they're in the womb and you're cloning them, you should be able to fix the fact that they have short elitis, is that what they call it?
Telomeres.
Telomeres, right? In the process, right? That is part of the genetic code, right? But I guess they couldn't, so, you know.
I don't know, maybe it was done on purpose. Maybe Rao wanted an exact clone of himself, so that they would live with the same. Remember, Rao's whole thing was, because of this, I have this certain point of view. So maybe he's like, if I inflict the same suffering on my clone will have the same outlook that I have. That it's not a matter of nature, it's a matter of nurture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I find it odd that no one in the room with Durandal even questions what he says about firing the superweapon. I get having loyal officers and whatnot, but even Patrick Zala had voices speaking up to what they were doing might be wrong. I specifically covered that his bridge was good because it allowed everyone to see everyone else. It's uniquely situated to allow anyone to speak up, and no one does.
I noticed that too, but it's like hand waving, like, no, he personally chose the people to be there to be his like loyal henchmen, even though we were never introduced to any loyal henchmen before, but sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, season 1 does stuff better. Patrick Zala does like weed people out, and like has very specifically. I mentioned them before, the council members, that the images is literally one guy on Patrick's right and one guy on Patrick's left, and during press conferences and whatnot. But even then, he still had someone in the control room. Like, I don't think we should do this. You know, the guy that killed him.
Yeah. And my final note on To a New World. And Ray keeps stick riding Durandal and wants Shin to do the same.
Well, I mean, I guess he kind of is his daddy.
Apparently. He's the one who gives her the drugs. He's a drug dealer, at least.
I mean, again, I don't think it's dick riding. I think he just honestly believes, and, you know, as per his own thing, I don't have much time left. I've spent literally all my life working towards this one goal. I'd like to see it completed before I die. I can totally see where Durandal's head is at. If you truly think that the Destiny plan is the only hope for the future, let alone getting out of the repeated horrors of past warfare, then it's hard to view anyone opposing it as anything but an enemy of humanity. In the Seed universe, I have to think that all pre-existing wars had to have happened as well as the wars in the show. So essentially 4 world wars now. And this is our first real attempt to try and stop it from becoming a 5th.
I would argue that attempting the League of Nations and the United Nations was an attempt to stop this.
I would argue... Yeah. See, the problem is that, to me, that comes across as like, I'm going to quit smoke. I quit smoking. I'm smoking again. Well, I thought you quit. No, I didn't. Well, I did quit. Well, you're smoking now, though. Well, League of Nations. World War. United Nations.
I didn't say they succeeded, they tried.
Yeah, well, I mean, what did I say? I thought I said I put myself into Durandal's head. Like, this feels like the only plan that might work. Because we've negotiated our asses off here, and keep coming back to it. Like, even in the show, we went from season 1 war ending negotiation, and episode 1 of season 2, we're back at it.
Yeah, but it really was, again, this is implied, so we don't really know. The movie might prove otherwise, or whatever else we watch, that he wasn't. But so far, he's the prime culprit. It's like, oh, wow, we're having some tensions. We could have another war. Let's drop potentially a nuke on the Earth and see what happens. You know.
Well, we know that Logos is already planning another war anyway. So, regardless of what Durandal did, they were
he's
already
responsible
going
for his own actions. You know, he is responsible for his own actions. So, right, and threatened the life and killed millions of people. So, again, yes, the other side might do something. Like, oh, well, you started it, but this is like, well, I'm just going to preempt them by murdering millions of people. I think you
danced your way off into a different topic.
No, but when we talk about it, it's like...
I said that Durandal's point of view is that anybody who's going to oppose the Destiny plan is an enemy of mankind. And I was saying, I could see what that point of view might be if you think that the Destiny plan is the ultimate way to stop fighting from happening. Because we've been through so much fighting already. And now you're going back to point as his past. Remember that conversation I said that we could never have any real conversation about the Destiny plan because you'd always remember that this guy's a mass murderer? Instantly, I said, hey, if you really believe in the Destiny plan, and you're like, hey, that guy's a mass murderer. Instantly, where you went to, proving my past point.
The particular point is about war and peace, right? If you believe in that peace is the ultimate thing that you choose, right? This is what you want to do. You shouldn't be the guy starting the war, you know?
Well,
it's one thing for others to stop the war.
At this point, though, it's a Watchmen thing.
Which, again, you know my position.
Yeah, but unfortunately in media, it works. So...
Yeah. But it's something I'm going to talk about too.
I mean, just go ahead and like write a story where it doesn't work. Maybe that should be your next writing thing, where somebody tries a Watchman and like everyone just like rains hell on them. Like, what the fuck did you think you were doing? You're the world's worst terrorist.
Yeah. Or it works for a little while, and then people are like, "What exactly did happen?" When they found out, it's like, "You son of a bitch!" And now there's a war because some people agree with what he did was important. People who didn't agree was like,
I mean,
you
that
can't
would
live
be
in a world like this. You know,
that would be more like
a
like noir detective novel sort of setup, right? Like you live in a. Oh, that would be the worst. Worst for me anyway. You live in the perfect society, like if destiny worked, right? And you live in the perfect society, everyone's happy, there's nothing wrong. And for some reason, you get the hint of what might have happened in the past, and you go on this whole investigative route. And people do try and stop you. Because, if you actually get this out, you will ruin the world. And much like Rorschach and yourself, you would rather live in a ruined world than a world where everyone lives a lie.
I mean, there was a Star Trek. I don't know if you've seen the new series of Star Trek.
Nope.
Not tested. There's an episode about that, which is based on a short story as well.
That's what I said. It sounds like it would be a compelling story, but I would just fucking hate the main character. I don't think I could finish it because I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Live in a perfect world with one lie.
Yeah, well, a half truth makes for an entire lie, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I said. One lie. Just live with one lie. It's all you have to do. The world will be worse.
Talk about stuff. Talia says, "Oh, we don't have a choice," but I do say you do have a choice, Talia. But I guess that is not the choice you're willing to make, even as you disagree with everything Durandal has done.
She's looking at a picture of her son, and she thinks that this is the better world for her son.
But at the same time, we constantly chant like, "Oh no, he's doing the wrong thing. I can't support." He's on the verge of going like, "This is too far," but she keeps saying, "No, I got to do this."
There's a thought that I had when I was watching him do the super laser, and it made me think back to Operation British in original Gundam, Universal Centric Gundam, which is to say, no matter how evil or bad the thing you're doing is, the one thing is that you who are in Zaft or you who are part of Xeon are now unified. Because no matter who you were yesterday, you are all now part of this thing, this horrible, horrible thing that you are now have all done. Because it doesn't matter if you are against it. It doesn't matter if you would have voted it down if you had the opportunity. The other side is never going to let you get away, right? If you were wearing the Nazi uniform yesterday before the camps opened up, and now the camps are open, like, I know there's no, like, one for one, like, one thing the Nazis did. I'm just saying, like, you can't take the uniform off now. You are in it. You are part of that group. So, it is the most unifying thing you could possibly have ever done to your people.
I would argue that the first thing you should do is take off the uniform and start fighting against it. Because you don't want
my argument there is that, again, the gallows for us, right? That it doesn't matter what your opinion is. You might fight it and go to try and join forces to help fight it. And the first thing that they do is shoot you in the head. I think at some point you have also the responsibility to keep yourself alive.
Yeah, but what's the old phrase? If you don't stand with the oppressed, you're siding with the oppressor in this situation, right?
There's also the view here that I'm talking about a group of people and you're talking about an individual. As a group, there's no more unifying thing than making everybody guilty of the same crime. I think most horror movies are based on that premise, right? Or maybe not horror movies. Like,
survival is what pushes you together.
We hit somebody with a car. What do we do? I know what you did last summer. Essentially, is that whole premise.
Yeah. I mean, survival is. I think it's like, oh, we need to survive this. We can take care about the morality later, right?
Well, I was thinking back to like Igloo, right, where Cadillac and all them are watching Island Iffish go by, and they're like breaking down, like, oh my fucking god, what do we do? and then we just move on because we're all complicit at this point. We're all been fighting this war, so we've already anti the other guys, and they're never going to let us forget that. And now this, we were never supporting it, but at the same time, we're already on that side. So we're all now complicit. We're all war criminals.
Yeah.
He put blood into everybody's hands, and now I have to believe most of Zaft is going to be on that side because, oh shit.
Well, except for a couple of people, we'll talk about them in a moment. In the notes. And this is something that you mentioned, I put it as the new 11th hour Gundam power to the rescue, I guess. As is how Mu. Oh, he says that he calls himself Neo still. I guess he realizes he's Mu when he has the flashbacks to the memories when this happens. Like, oh, I remember not dying the last time I did this. Right?
It's ironic you're ahead of me because literally that's my last note, and I have like 4 more to go before I get there.
Yeah. So he kind of was like, oh, yeah, I was in the hospital, and Jibril apparently was the one that paid for my vacation, I guess, because he's covered with bandages.
Which is also funny to think about, because that's now, I keep saying this is like ripping off everything from season 1. You remember when Wallfield was supposed to have been dead, and then Patrick brought him back, and then he's like, oh, I'll do anything to pay you back for bringing me back to life, and then he instantly betrays him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't even think about how ripping off that one was, too.
I mean, literally rips up the exact same moment from the last episode.
I know, again, I have a whole note about it, but it's my last note, and I'm not skipping to the end.
Yeah. But go ahead, then.
As anti-Lacus as I've been for a long time now, I gotta say that I got no problem with her anti-Daedalus speech. Not just because I'm on the side of Durandal. Not just because that's what I wrote. That doesn't make any sense. Fuck me. I didn't even write this at 2 a.m. I wrote this like 2 hours ago. Not just because I think I forgot to write a not. Not just because I'm not on the side of Durandal turning into a madman, but because it makes sense. If you are fighting for peace and are on the only one holding onto a super weapon, then it becomes more of a threat than it is useful. I do disagree with Lacus's point that it can't fight battles. As I said during last reaction, you could fire it at a fleet. But if it came to such a point that you'd need to fire this thing at an oncoming fleet of such size, then things have already gone way too far south. If not for Durandal moving from open discussion to force, I'd say go ahead and destroy it. With Logos out of the picture, the threat of massive attack on the planets seems to not be a thing, and we can de-escalate from the super weapon space.
Not only that, according to how Durandal is acting now, what if the resistance comes from within? Like, people in the plants go like, we've gone through this whole genetic modification thing. We exist because of it. We have been in trouble because of it. How we just slow our roll here, think about it. And Durandal's like, oh, you want to think about it? Laser them, right? Like,
I didn't think you were going to imply that Durandal was going to laser the plants. I thought you were going to imply what if a resistance group got a hold of Daedalus and then try to use that.
They could also happen as well.
What was it? White Fang?
White Fang?
Gundam Wing.
Yeah. Well, they were the ones behind the Gundams, I believe.
No, White Fang was I forgot his Miliardo's resistance group that takes over a super weapon to fight the government. That's what I'm saying. Is literally that's what I thought you were going to go for. There was what if just grassroots plants terrorist?
I mean,
plants lose cosmos, if you will.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We still have the Sala faction running around too.
No, we made them up. They don't exist.
Yeah, but,
or technically, maybe they really did exist, but they're all dead now. Is more the thing.
Or forgotten.
I thought you were about to say, "Oh yeah, racism still exists."
Well, that's true. Yeah,
we didn't solve that, even though it's not on the table anymore. It's a thing that was a major factor for 1.75 seasons. But that's right, we didn't solve racism.
technically, if this plan goes according, then everybody will be genetically modified. So I guess nobody would be racist on the.
Again, Destiny Plane does solve everything.
Yeah. Except, free will. But who cares about that?
No, it doesn't do anything to free will. Well, it doesn't do anything to the majority of free will. Like, if you are fine with working at a job that you were genetically predisposed to do, great. But it also doesn't tell you what you're doing with your free time or anything like that. It's not like some sort of weird... You've seen Lex?
Yeah.
It's not fucking Lex.
Oh, it kind of is, because you never will have a choice otherwise. It's like your genes will compel you to work at that job, which means your entire life will be.
See, again, this is inference. This is inference, not information, because they don't give us information.
How else is it going to work?
You could have options. You could literally have options. So it seems like you're genetically predisposed towards art, but you're also good at leadership. You could have a birth of options. Nothing says that your genes are going to say you're only good at one thing. You fucking suck. You're only a janitor. You're making that up. That's inference. You're a human person, and human people are good at lots of things. You have a wide range of genes, and there's a lot of fucking specialist jobs in this world that maybe, have you ever taken an aptitude test? And how many things does an aptitude test say you're good at? Right? Who's to say the genetic thing is a wide and unreadable as a aptitude test?
It also the possibility that if it's the genetics and it passes from parent to child, you have essentially people who get pigeonholed into doing a job, right? It's like, well, I was happy as an accountant because my genes are made me good at math. So will you be happy?
Again, what I just said, though, because it feels like your secondary argument here ignores the whole thing that I just said about you probably or have a whole birth of things that you'd be available to do.
But in that case...
And I want to, once again, put the argument out there. My side and your side, it's all inference. So the very first note I had about them not giving us any information, they didn't give us any information. You're automatically assuming the worst. I'm automatically assuming the best, which is weird for me. Typically, I always assume the worst, but I guess maybe it's my contrarian nature. The fact that you're assuming the worst means I have to be like the 1 out of 5 dentists. So I'm just saying that they don't give us enough information, so you can be pessimistic or optimistic. It just depends on what you want to do, I guess.
Was that your note or my note?
Yeah, I think that was my I agree with Lacus note, the weird one out of the bunch.
I know this is not a surprise to you. Kyle, it's a little bit of a surprise to me because I was like, and then when I watch it back, it should have been obvious, but it still was a surprise when I first watched it, not the second time, of course. For a second, I thought Dirk and Yasek were going to fight Arthur and Kira. They kind of made it like, I want to punch that guy in the face, and you're like, again.
No, you literally asked, what do you think they're going to do? You said, who are they going to fight for? And I said, both sides. Because there are still part members of zaft, but as per the end of season 1, they will do what's right when the thing comes to... So, I thought the subversion was, you think he's going to go fight Kira because of the whole Scar thing. That's what I talked about during the episode. You got rid of the Scar. You shouldn't be about Kira. No, it's his previous antagonism towards Athrun as former head of the Rao team. That, what are you doing back out here? It's like, I see you. That was actually good writing. But no, I mean, it's exactly what I said. As you said, I was not surprised. I paid attention to Yasek and Durka during season 1 a lot. The whole Durka was Haw's girlfriend. He was Haw's boyfriend, and then they split at the start of season 2, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, no, because they were like the most nuanced characters. Well, Durka was. In that they were trying really hard to make him a nuanced character. Yasek was like a one-way street kind of character that they forced. Like, no, there's a giant boulder there. We're gonna have to curve you around that boulder.
Yeah. Want to keep you around, so.
Well, it's my boy.
To your next note.
Just a super minor thing, but Lacus is calling for the zaft forces to stop fighting and to move aside. One guy actually does stop fighting. his fellows call him out on it, but he doesn't do anything. And then Athrun whacks him with an enhanced meteor beam. It just lops off the head of the thing and the right arm, like, into here. So far into the shoulder that I'm sure it cut into the cockpit. I'd say it's 50-50 on if this guy is still alive. What it certainly doesn't do is convince anyone else to listen to Lacus. The only guy we've seen listen to her might have just died. Not good coordination.
No, but I think the implication was that some other guys were firing, and then that's why Athrun fired back.
No, I mean, there are other guys in the shot, literally the ones that are calling him out for, why are you stopping? They're not actually firing, though, because literally he cuts into the guy, and they, like, do the weird Gundam shock pose, like, whoa, that guy just got iced. So, yeah, no, it's like, dude, stop.
They first fly past a group of them that are not fighting.
I'm talking about specifically, it's a shot of a blue goof. And it looks like it's Zaku, yeah. Because the guy's like, wait, Lacus? Which one? And he just like stops. And like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh. He looks super confused. Yeah. But he's actively stopped fighting. And that's when Athrun, I first thought it was Kira. So it kind of went on this whole thing about Kira's non-violent attacks and whatnot. But it's a red Gundam, so it's got to be Athrun. Slices him up. It's just like... And the other guys don't move. They're just like, ah. So, yeah, not good. If I was there watching the fight and this person keeps trying to tell me to stop, and I watch a guy who stops get fucking blown, like, keep on fighting.
I might as well die fighting. Yeah. This whole episode is timely because again, if Durandal had done the first thing and they were like, we can't let Durandal keep doing that shit, it makes more sense. But like, we can't let Durandal control the world. Okay, we have to fight. If they just said, we have to be ready to defend ourselves, or we have to be ready to fight, just that enough will give you like, yeah, we're not agreeing. We don't trust this guy. We're preparing for the worst, hoping for the best.
The problem is that they already did that. They did that and then went to fighting. Because you remember, Orb is already on full alert. They've got their self-defense forces out. They said that earlier. And then they go immediately to fighting. There was no in-between event. It's like, okay, we're on full self-defense alert. Now we've got to go start fighting. Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If they had the sequence of events where like, we're in full alert, Durandal goes like, well, the president's there. We got to kill him. Like, oh, well, shit. They're using the super weapon. I guess
he wants to talk to you. Fuck that. Talking.
Yeah. He's powerless, has no financial support. We got to use the weapon anyway. Might as well. Fuck.
They show like one shot that seems to be him giving a speech where you'd have to assume it's anti-zaft or something. So I guess the idea... It could have been
recorded speech. Because when... It doesn't necessarily mean
because they're showing a current Kigali speech. So and then they go right to him. Yeah, so
but they also show a picture of Kigali shaking hands with him. And if he's in the moon and Kigali is on Earth, when did that happen?
I don't think that was him. I think it's just another old white guy. I think that's probably the king of Scandinavia.
Probably
the only two countries that have allied up.
But still, and then he's on the phone like, I'm going to talk to somebody, and he gets wiped out. So, and he was calling Durandal like, listen, we need to talk. So even if he's giving a speech, that's posture and it's politics. Okay, let him posture for a little bit. I have the super weapon, motherfucker. What the fuck are you going to do? Well, I just got to pretend. It's like, don't fuck with me, dude. I won. That's how you do it, But again, we're in episode, 47, 48? We don't have a lot of time. Durandal has to speed run the bad guy route.
I thought I had a note about all this, but apparently I don't, because I only got 2 notes left. But essentially it was on the idea of, it's probably had something to do with not agreeing with Durandal going crazy. Sorry, I do have a note about this later. I have it in my comment response sections. Okay. I now recall. Sorry.
My next note, right? Mine?
I don't know. But I only have 2 left, and I'm assuming you've got more than that.
I got a couple more. Rey there's no saving orbit. This is Ray talking to Chin. Again, gaslighting him. Ray, there's no saving orbit if Durandal bumps it from orbit. You know that, but I guess Chin is too far gone to understand it. He says, you're fighting to also save Orb. And I'm like, you saw what happened to the last person that said no to Durandal, right? How are you going to save Orb if Orb gets lasered from orbit, from the moon in this case? I guess whoever survives, you go like, yeah, no, here's my blood. Do the genetic thing. We're saved. Hurrah! Looking around going like, shit, what the fuck?
I don't honestly remember him saying anything about Orb.
Yeah, Chin is going into the elevator to, go down to the hangar. It's like, oh, and Ray's like, yeah, you got to do this. And by the way, you're also fighting to save Orb. Chin looks back like, guess so. Whatever.
Except that he said he'd be the one to destroy Orb.
Yeah. But then Chin...
I don't know that the show remembers that, though.
Yeah. The show doesn't remember a lot of things because...
Ironic, given all the flashbacks.
Yeah. I like Chin of that first season. That first scene when he appears, I like that Chin.
I thought you were about to say the first season, which technically, since we watched... you watched the movies. We watched the HD remaster cut, which included shots of Shin in. So, technically, he was in the first season for, 10 seconds.
Yeah. I like the Chin of the first scene that he appears. Like, literally says, why the hell do you want to start this war again? But that Chin left the building a long time ago.
I would argue, though, Shin's still probably in my top 3 characters of the show. Obviously, Mir is my number 1. Frey is probably my number 2.
Yeah, Durandal was up there until they ruined him.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about Durandal.
Yeah.
Sorry, if we're talking season 2, then Durandal is probably my number 2. Mayron's calling out, asking why Luna is fighting them, really hits a dead end for me when she goes, "Don't you know this is the real Lacus?" We are so far beyond that now. This is the final fight of ideologies to decide the future of humanity. Who was the real Lacus isn't even a side note anymore.
I think it's a sign to say, hey, the real Lacus, you were basically the shorthand for you have been lied to all this time. Wake up. But again,
who fucking cares? Doesn't matter if you've even been lied to. You're literally fighting now. This is what side are you on fight now?
Well, to stop fighting, either go away or join their side, That's the whole point.
No, it's keep fighting or join. I don't think there is a get out of the way option here because it's something we've talked about. There's nowhere to go. You're going to be in the fight zone either way, so you might as well pick a side. Also, I don't think at the end of this war anyone's going to appreciate the people who didn't pick a side. But
then again, they got easily forgiven last time. Although Athrun is the one that always was like, "Oh, you were fighting against us. You were fighting against us." Remember,
the people that were easily forgiven were forgiven by Durandal. So if you're not on that side, you might not get forgiven.
Yeah.
But again, it's the who's real Lacus doesn't fucking matter. We are so far beyond. Super weapons are going off. What the fuck are you talking about?
I do have a note about Lacus in a bit, but now this is something I found confusing, and maybe you can clarify. Maybe there's more than one ship that looks like the supercarrier, so I could have been wrong. Now I'm confused because it looked like the Minerva was flying alongside the Zaft supercarrier, the one under Commander Yisak, and he sided with the Archangel. So did no one notice their defecting?
I don't think Yisak was on the supercarrier. He was on a different ship.
Was he? I think he was the commander of the supercarrier, I think, all this time.
No, maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure he flew out from a different, smaller ship. I can't remember the names of the ship types. It's the same kind of one that Rao used to command from. Because remember, he very specifically says, "Stay back, or otherwise you're going to get killed." Because you were making fun of him making a bad call. And I'm like, no, he's learned from season 1 to not put his people in the harm's way. Especially after Frederick fucking got murked by Lacus last season. Because that was the scene where we finally see somebody going down and he's finally saluting them as they die. It's like, I don't want to do that again. I've become literally a better person since season 1.
Yeah.
So instead of,
Off-screen.
I need you to run into harm's way to make sure we win this fight, you guys stay back and support us at range. If you go into the front, you're going to fucking die. No, I thought you were going to ask something about the carrier, because I thought you were going to say the carrier got destroyed in Season 1.
No, but we get introduced to another carrier in Season 2, early in Season 2,
Yeah.
which is where I saw Yisek and
they've been moving around the whole fucking... They've been showing up anywhere. We haven't, done anything with them. It's been a real disappointment.
On the other hand, their characterization didn't go to shit because they were off screen. Nobody could ruin it,
Well, no, because remember, they learned all their lessons right there at the tail end of Season 1.
Yeah.
So really, whatever they became at Season 2 was just the evolution of that. Which is to say that Yazek doesn't change much because he's got an abrasive personality, whereas Durka is just the same guy.
Yeah.
Like, Durka learned his lesson when he was locked up. It was like, oh, she really cared that her boyfriend died. I didn't do that. That wasn't me. And now I'm changed. All right. My last note. So they ruined Mu's sacrifice from the first season by retconning him back to life and bringing him back as Neo, who really didn't matter to the story of Destiny all that much. You could replace that role with anyone else, and it would have gone exactly the same. It didn't have to be Mu. But then they do the Season 1 thing all over again. Archangel about to be hit by a shot that will destroy it and kill everyone on board, but Mu gets in the way. Except this time, it's not even some heroic sacrifice. He just saves everyone and moves on. What does this add to the episode? Nothing is gained by it. Arguably, it's not even a cool moment, as it's just directly copying a previous scene. At best, emotional release for Mu getting his memories back, but he should be dead, so that's just a mixed bag. For me, it just felt like a bullshit way to make the Minerva lose.
Yeah, and also, I guess it's like people who might be Mu fans were like, oh my god, Mu died, he shouldn't have died. That's the only people who will be happy about this, is like... And I talked about in earlier notes in episode, like his transformation. Well, he still calls himself Neo, but clearly he's just back to being Mu, right? He's just, he just switched. Oh, I'm Mu back. I'm back to being Mu.
Well, he doesn't call himself Neo after he gets his memories back.
Yeah, no, when he launched in the...
He gets his memories back after he gets hit by the beam, which is after he launched. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't call himself Neo after he gets his memories back.
Yeah. But up to this point, he's been calling himself Neo, but all intents and purposes, he's acting like Mu anyway, right? Hey, I got a girl, she's hot, she's my... I'm going to grab her by the waist and, see what happens. He's like, yeah, I'm on the side of the Archangel.
Well, my point is that nothing he did as Neo was anything that only Mu could do. There was no Mu-specific moment in that. Literally could have just been a new character called Neo.
Yeah.
Like, literally. Also, the Mu-specific stuff would have changed that character. Like, Neo fucking loses all the goddamn time. I think we talked about this before. That's the difference here, is that Neo loses and Mu doesn't. So, Neo getting shot down in a mobile suit is not something I feel like would have happened to Mu. So, having Neo be Mu is pointless.
And also pointless because he never meets Rey either, right? Because that was the whole crux of the first season, that Rao was a clone of his father, right? And there was that confrontation with him and Chin in that lab. It was like, oh, your father did this to me, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh. And so he never liked his father in the first place because they had a falling out. But then he realized the depths of how far he had gone to even, substitute him, right?
I don't think there would have been any point in Mu meeting Rey. I think the stuff that came across to Mu about Rao was that Rao looked like him. Like, instantly, like, let me take off my mask. Do you see? Rey does not look like anybody. Maybe if we had met Rao we saw Rao as a child, but we saw him younger than what Rey, so there's no matchup there. If Mu had come across Rey, I don't know that anything would come of it, because also Rey doesn't have all of Rao's memories. I mean, that was something I threw out there a lot, but unless they do it here in the final two, like that last shot of last episode, very confusing that they do the face over with Rao. But unless they're indicating to us that he has those thoughts, then I don't think Rey meeting Mu would have done anything.
Neo.
For us,
I think Neo.
For us, the viewer, that would be a thing, because we have this whole meta conception about everyone's character connections and everything like that. The characters themselves, this would be nothing.
I don't know. I think it may not affect Rey so much, at least not in the beginning. But I think it might affect Neo in that it's like, wait a minute, you look like a younger me. Because at some point he was a teenager. You supposed to look like in the mirror, go like, oh, this is what I look like as a teenager. He's like, oh, damn it, you look like me,
I mean, that assumes. Well, I mean, that assumes
that
that's true, though. That is what they look like.
I mean, if it's a clone,
we wouldn't know unless we got a younger image. Well, we did get a. I don't think Rey as a child looked like Mu or Rao as a child. I don't remember.
He's a clone of his father.
Did you see that in the movie?
Yeah,
the flashbacks to Mu and Rao. Yeah. He doesn't look like them as a child, which might mean as a teenager he doesn't look like them as a teenager. So there might not be.
He would look at his father, so at least there would be some filial recognition. Like,
I don't think so, but I'm not good at that in real life, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't look at my dad and think that guy looks like me. So I'm just saying that if he doesn't look exactly like him, I don't think there's going to be any recognition.
So, my last 2 notes. Sorry about that. I'm a little sleepy. Why is Randall obsessed with Lacus? Is it because he doesn't have her power to persuade people, I guess? Although he seems pretty persuasive to the people he has around him, so... He's like... Because you have these 2 shots, it's him doing like, oh, Lacus, I'm going to finish off Lacus Klein, right? And then we have the next note that I'm going to... So just do, because you're done with your notes.
Well, I mean, I do have something to say. I just was trying to not interrupt you.
I'm going to do them back to back because I think they're kind of related. And
hold on. I have an answer. You asked me a question. Don't let me not answer your question. You know you're going to hit me with more stuff in your next note that I'm going to totally forget what you were talking about the first time.
Okay.
The answer is because we've created a villain and we need somebody for him to directly act against. Every other villain had a foil, and they thought, oh, we got 2 episodes left. We need to give Durandal a physical embodiment foil. Who have we put him up against this entire time? There's that whole mirror thing. I hate Lacus. That's my thing now because we're running out of episode count. That's my take on it because there's no real reason.
Yeah, it just feels out of Aspel, basically.
I mean, not unless we get something here in the final 2 that indicates who Durandal was during the Patrick Zala era. That maybe he was fighting the Seagull faction. I'm doing the writer's work for them here. That he was fighting the Seagull faction and something came of that. And the fact that She-Ren represents that, or even possibly something that happened after she took control. That he, maybe...
You got sideline or something?
No, I'm just thinking back now. Seagull had a conversation with Patrick early on about the difficulties of Generation 4 coordinators having kids. And what's Patrick's thing with Talia? Wasn't allowed to have a kid with her. Maybe then he blames Seagull for that. Maybe some policy, because Seagull was president before Patrick was not president, leader of the council, whatever. Maybe he blames Seagull for that, and then Seagull's already dead. I'm going to transfer that to your daughter. Coming for your daughter, Chuck. I mean, that could be a thing. Like I said, I'm doing the writer's work. If they don't flash back to that, then I have tied lines together that does make for a story. Not a particularly compelling one, mind you. I wouldn't be interested in this, even though I came up with it. But that would be a way to connect it, yeah. I'm blaming you for your father's incompetence. Something like that.
Or maybe he had been in the Sala faction all along, and then he got displaced, and he went like, "Oh, I had nothing to do with it. I'm just a bystander, But secretly harbored a hatred of Klein, and again transferred to Lacus.
I don't know if you try to attach it to the political line. I don't think it makes much sense because if he was part of the Zala faction, he really does not carry any of that with him.
Yeah,
he doesn't have any of the beliefs that Zala had. I think it's easier to tie it to that one scene that we had of his flashback of Talia and him wanting to have a kid together, and they couldn't. And the one time, one of the leaders,
she wanted to have a kid. He wanted to stay with her, right? He's the one who says, I have to leave you because I want to have a child.
Assumedly, he wanted to have a kid with her.
No, he wants to be in a relationship with her. So, yeah, he probably was.
Well, I mean, he cares about the future of the whole species, right? Assumedly, if you care that much about the future of the species, you want to perpetrate? What's the word I'm looking for here?
Well, he's about to perpetrate a lot of more things.
What's the word? Literally, what's the word I'm looking for here? I can't remember.
Procreate.
No, not procreate. To continue, perpetuate. Yeah, you want to perpetuate the species. So I was like, no, it's a word that means continue to do a thing. And perpetrate does mean to do a thing, but it's not the word I was looking for. But yeah, no, I think that's still the closest tie if you were going to try and tie the two things together. Because, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense either, though, because Siegel wanted to find a solution. I don't know, maybe that was his solution. It was kind of a final one for him, though.
I think what ultimately Siegel wanted to do was bring more naturals in so that they could because that's the thing. I think you need naturals to keep the coordinators going.
No,
both of them need each other.
I definitely wouldn't say that was his plan. The problem, again, is that you didn't get any Siegel because the movie just skips him. The same way it does, the same way Tomino decided McQueeve's death wasn't worthwhile. It's like, wait, what? Apparently with this, they only thought Siegel's death was the only thing that mattered for Siegel. But no, they have a whole conversation, him and Patrick, by themselves about the fact that the birth rate's declining among coordinators and that we don't really have a solution for it. And I don't think he ever comes up with anything. Because it's not long after that he loses the next election to Patrick.
And my last note, and of course Ray wants to kill Chin to avenge Rao. Because of course we gotta have.
You got the names wrong, I think. Ray doesn't want to kill Shin.
Oh no, Kira. He wants to kill Kira.
Sorry, the way you paused for a second when I said that, as though no, I think I'm right. He wants to kill Shin. I was like, wait, I don't think so.
No. I was wrong.
That'd be super gaslighting. I've been gaslighting you all season so that I could kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to be a bit jealous about him. It's like, oh, you have the real power, and I'm just dying.
Well, no, it was an early thing that used to bring up was the element that Ray got passed over to be the Impulse's pilot.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? I even almost wrote a thing about it before, like, oh, I guess this makes sense. He got passed up because he's a failed clone sort of thing. It's like, no, wait. Rao was a really good pilot. So that wouldn't be a reason to make Ray not the pilot. That's why I didn't write the note. I deleted it after that. It's like, oh, that's right. Rao was like an exceptional pilot.
The implication is that Durandal found something in Chin's DNA that makes him even more special.
I think that's the implication. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he even says you're the best.
Mm-hmm. You're the strongest. And so those were my notes.
All right. I almost forgot, even though I kept bringing it up during my notes, that we do have a comment. Fenrir756 from Patreon, from the episode Ray. Been pretty busy for a while, so I haven't been able to comment, but I only got 2 related topics to cover in depth. I think Durandal is one of the more well-written and consistent characters in this show, and because of the nature of the Destiny plan, he is executing it the only way it could ever work. Now, we're going into 2 large paragraphs here, so I'm going to read 1 paragraph at a time, and we can interject between the paragraphs. Durandal has not suddenly gone insane, and he decided to use Requiem on the Arzachal base, but he is acting consistently with how he has been portrayed throughout the series. Durandal has always been portrayed as viewing people in terms of roles, rather than as persons, and I would argue the first evidence of this is how he treats Kigali and Athrun very early in the season. From the first episode, Durandal consistently calls Kigali Princess, even after she insists that he address her by her proper title of Representative Atha. Sorry, that wasn't adequate. Which he only does once before continuing to call her Princess. This is because Durandal can only see Kigali as being her role as Princess of Orb, not beyond that. With respect to Athrun, when he offers him the savior, he tells him, but what you can do and what you wish to do. These are things that nobody knows better than you. which is meant to show how Durandal views the world in terms of whether a person understands what he/she is actually capable of doing. The fact Durandal also completely forgot who Luna Maria was after trying to have her sister killed by Shin, even though they had shared dinner with Athrun, Shin, Rey, and Gladys, is further evidence that Durandal doesn't care about people on an individual level unless they are important tools for him to use. Durandal has known about Genesis and the Destroyer well in advance of their actual appearances, but did not take any proactive measures to eliminate them or prevent their use, because having them used would further strengthen his moral high ground in the eyes of the rest of the world when it came time for the Destiny Plan. Also, when Gibril fired Requiem, he intended to kill Durandal along with the rest of the Supreme Council by destroying Aprilis, but Gazik's team caused the colony cylinder they were attacking to change its angle, missing the target. Durandal was at Messiah at the time, and I believe he planned for Gibril to kill the rest of the Supreme Council, so he would have complete authority over the plants to impose the Destiny Plan without opposition. We know Durandal has been planning to implement the Destiny Plan since he was at Mendel, and I believe we're supposed to understand that two things shaped his decision to pursue the plan. First, Durandal's friendship with Rowler Crest likely resulted in sharing the same cynical view, I think they meant about humanity, and how they will destroy themselves if things continue as they are. But whereas Rao wanted to eliminate humanity to put an end to the darkness and hate humanity kept bringing into the world, Durandal wanted to save humanity by eliminating free will and impose a system he believed would be able to fulfill people by maximizing the use of their talents. The other event that shaped his worldview is when Talia left him so she could get married and have children because they were considered genetically incompatible under the plant's laws. Given Durandal and Talia's interactions in the series, I think it's fair to conclude he never really got over her, and the fact that his personal desires were sacrificed because of his genetics impacted him in such a way that he felt the need to portray himself as being a caring and charismatic leader who only wants to help people. But all of this only to serve his ultimate aim of imposing the Destiny Plan, and he either maneuvered events or let events take a certain course that resulted in millions dying when he was perfectly positioned to prevent, but by allowing it to happen, he was able to strengthen his reputation and moral authority in the world's eyes. Also, he could impose the Destiny Plan on the world. Stop paragraph 1.
I agree with a lot of that. The problem, again, is one of if we had had a deeper investigation into who Durandal was and his connections to all of this, then yeah, I would believe it. A couple of more scenes. Because, yeah, we have the scene where Rao and Durandal know each other. And even the discussions like, hey, my old friend, I'm going to do things differently, right? Like, they seem to share some ideas. But again, it's so scattered, so weak. Especially because we have the protagonist, to call him that way, not doing anything, not investigating the assassination attempt, not investigating, Durandal's plan or anything. They only found the book like, oh yeah, he's been working on this for a while. What is it? We don't know, but we have suspicions, right? A very vague link to the, Stop the World. That image of him knowing about the Destroy and possibly also the satellites as well, the Requiem, right? I do believe that he could. I said that. It's like you said, no, that's not possible. He couldn't have done that, or he would have compromised intelligence sources. Like, yeah, but Requiem Destroy, at least the first one, proved to be such a dangerous weapon, right? That you would have to try to stop it somehow. Eventually, it just turned out to be just a big mook that gets blown up, on the regular. But the first one proved to be extremely dangerous. So he should have done something, right? You don't. If you're facing a genocidal enemy, you don't allow them to do that, to get hold of the weapon, right? And I do believe that he's willing to exploit any situation that presents itself, like, Logos and the Earth Alliance are going to do more damage to Earth than to us, right? But on the other hand, There's the idea of him expecting Jibril to kill the council on his behalf, or that, taking a risk that the weapon that he was using, the weapon that stopped the nukes, could actually work. Because if one nuke went past, that was at least one nuke per plant, and he would have lost millions, right? Or possibly, I don't know how the population of the plants are. It could be in the billions right now. So he's perfectly willing to use that. I just feel that the evidence is not circumstantial, just weak. And that's the problem.
Well, as I previously mentioned, I wrote a response to read here, only because while I was taking my notes on the episode, I kept thinking back. Fenrir's comment was living in my head rent-free, as they say. Like, I couldn't focus on the show, and I was like, the only way I'm going to be able to do this is if I pre-write a response, so that I can then move on to write notes about the show. Durandal has been a cool and calculating figure during the course of this entire show, with an eye towards the long term. That he would suddenly move from organizing people and moving them around to suit his ambition, to directly and openly attacking on his direct orders, stands opposed to that characterization. I view that more as a result of the rapidly decreasing number of episodes left, and not due to his pre-existing personality. I don't think Durandal, from the start of the show, would have taken this action. And even if he were to be responsible for it, he would have distanced himself from it the same way he presumably did with Break the World. He cares more about the results, but also needs to keep up appearances. Here, at the very brink of being able to fulfill his plan, why would he throw that all away to destroy the remains of a group that was effectively no longer a threat to him? Destiny is the goal. Earth Federation were just stragglers. More than that, doing that alienates whatever chance he had left to sway the Atlantic Federation to his side. Something that, while exceedingly improbable, wouldn't have been impossible if he had talked to them.
At least you have a reason to do it, right?
What I'm saying, though, it doesn't fit the characterization that we've built up for him this entire time.
Although he did sort of act directly when Ray brought the pictures to Randall, and I was like, well, I guess I can. But even then, Randall wasn't.
That's acting directly for us, the audience. That was a behind-the-scenes thing. Imagine if we hadn't gotten that scene. All we would have known is two guys showed up at Atherin's place to put him under arrest, and then be like, who ordered that? Because we wouldn't have thought Durandal. That would have been weird.
And even then, he didn't say, oh, go kill him. He said, I can charge him with something. Like, just put him in prison and get him out of the way, kind of thing. Like, oh, he's no longer useful anymore. He does talk about, especially, that's the whole discussion about how Atherin particularly interprets that meeting, that he was there with Lacus. We're talking about the Destroy and the Destiny. And he's like, the way Atherin understood is like, oh, like I said in my quote about Marx, right? The darker side of that quote is, oh, you're going to pigeonhole people in their place. The lighter side of that note is like, no, we're going to support people so they can be the very best, right? If they have a need, we support them. We feel their needs.
We're going to put them in positions that make them happy.
Yeah, and we fulfill their material needs, and then they're free to do whatever they want to do and be their very best if that's what they choose to be, right? We're not going to judge someone, because, one day they can't come to work. Well, they're less of a worker, less of a person. So it happens, right? So there's two sides to that quote.
But as you were saying, though, he says you could bring him up on some charges or whatever. The thing I kept joking about was literally striking a subordinate. He keeps hitting Shin. That's not cool. Literally, Shin could bring him up on charges.
I guess so. Unless
I'm not saying that Shin does that, but that's literally an open door. If I can charge him for something.
Well, Durandal can charge him for something because he's a faith. Up to that point, was a faith member, and he was beholden directly to the council.
Faith lets you do what you think needs to be done. It doesn't let you just assault members of your own crew willy-nilly. Oh, I thought he needed to be assaulted. I thought I had authority. Like, no. if I assaulted my own subordinates, just because I'm the president of the council, doesn't mean I don't get away with it.
Well, unless you do. But those are my thoughts, right? The idea is that, yes, I mean, I was the one who was always like that damn smirk of his, right? I don't trust Randall. He's always smirking, and you're like, oh, that's not enough.
I brought up, I think in the last 5-10 episodes, that the idea that he's a sociopath, because he does look to the side to see what somebody else is, how they're reacting, and then a moment later, oh, I'm so angry, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he had to look and check.
Room. He has to physically read the room, like, okay, boom.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm not opposed to a lot of what Fenrir says. Like, a lot of that is true. But at the same time, doesn't fit the characterization to do what he's doing now. This is fucking insane to all of the Durandal actions you've described before. Because Durandal has a view for the long term. He wants this one thing to happen and will do anything to make it happen. But this is a result of we've got 2 episodes left. This isn't a result of this is what he's planning all the time. This is the final masterstroke of his plan. It's like, no.
Yeah.
The masterstroke of his plan would have been using all the goodwill that he's earned towards the world and using that in negotiations to prove that he has the best interest of everyone in mind. This proves that you're Patrick. Like, you don't want to be Patrick right now. You can't force everybody into being what you want them to be. That's why this is fucking insane. This is not the Durandal that we know. Again, it's mostly that first line that just stuck with me. That he's not gone suddenly insane. No, he has. He has. I disagree with you, Fenrir. Anyway, second paragraph. Regarding the Destiny Plan, the plan can only work if the entire world is subject to it. The purpose of the plan is to transform the entire human existence by ensuring everyone's role, purpose, and future in society is decided based on their individual genetics. If there were countries like Orb that refused to participate in the Destiny Plan, then people would have a different system to compare the plan to, and if they weren't satisfied with their role in society, might either try to leave or try to destabilize the society under the Destiny Plan to reinstate free will and choice. For the plan to work, every nation must be subject to it, so no one can see a different option and convince themselves that their life might be better over there. And the only way to force that is with the threat of annihilation, if a nation fails to join. One point I think you misunderstood in the last episode is that none of the other nations on Earth agreed to the Destiny Plan, but they had not responded either in support or rejection, as the destruction of Logos left numerous destabilized. Parentheses. This is expressly said by Kigali in the show, and that this side effect was likely part of Durandal's overall plan. And parentheses. Sorry, I thought this was a continuing thought. While Durandal is viewed positively by most of the world, if he wants to save humanity by instituting the Destiny Plan, he has no choice but to force compliance under threat of annihilation, and he needed to use Requiem at least once to demonstrate his willingness to do so. Ultimately, implementing the Destiny Plan only in those nations that opt in is useless because it would not eliminate the part of human nature that has caused wars to continue to happen, which would defeat Durandal's whole purpose in establishing the Destiny Plan.
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
I don't think you do.
I don't agree. I agree in the sense that that Destiny is or will remove free will. Therefore, he has to implement it on everybody. I don't agree that he had to use Requiem right away, right? That he was forced to use Requiem. That was a dumb move, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I know you disagreed on that part, at least.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to go back in on the free will thing, but, I disagree with you on that one, which means I obviously also disagree with Fenrir. But, we had a conversation last episode about what I said was we end the whole season, right, where I institute the Destiny Plan, and then we start a third season literally in the future with, again, 2 countries everybody that didn't do the Destiny plan, say another alliance of sorts, and then everyone that did. So literally we could compare, see how that worked out. But my real problem with this paragraph, then I'll let you continue unabated, was the stuff you've misunderstood. Because we talked about that last episode. We didn't misunderstand anything. We literally discussed this stuff, so I don't understand how Fenrir thinks what we misunderstood when the thing that they're describing that you must have missed this or misunderstood it is something that we've actively talked about before.
Yeah, well, I already said my piece, so.
Pizza. That does sound good.
My piece.
Of
I guess it's
pizza.
slice of. Yeah. Far.
That's all right. I do fast food 1 day a week, and that's usually on Wednesdays. So even if I thought that sounded good, there's nothing I'm doing about it right now. But yeah, as I said before, he had a wealth of goodwill and a 98%. I already did the math in my notes. 98% of the world undecided or abstaining, which meant plenty of time to sit around and talk about it. Because, as we already indicated, it's only the Kingdom of Scandinavia and Orb are against it. And if I was in the rest of the world, I think it would be highly suspicious of the fact that they instantly were against it, whereas everyone else in the world seems to be deliberating. Like, why are you so against it off the bat?
Going back to Ray is the real.
God, I wish that had panned out.
It would have worked out if, Durandal's like, oh, we got Requiem, we secured it, whatever. Sure. Okay. And, you have, like, we start talking, and it's Ray who comes, is like, I'm dying. We got to do this now. I want to see this before it's done. And he goes solo, and he activates Requiem. It's like, oh, shit, now we're stuck, right?
Well, the thing here is, it could still be Ray. The thing is, Rao's plan, right? Rao's plan wasn't, I'm going to get a super weapon and kill everybody. Rao's plan is, I'm going to make sure everybody has a super weapon, and they'll kill themselves.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening right now? Durandal, the person closest associated to Ray, has a super weapon, and they're firing it at people. So, there could still be a chance in the next 2 episodes that Ray is like, this thing I've been planning all along. Because, Ray's clearly going to fucking die here. I don't expect I expect to see Ray in the movie. He's going to fucking die because he's a Rao clone and Rao's dead. He's going to get a final moment to reflect for us, the viewer, what's happened so far. So it might be every time you've seen me clicking away at the computer, it's been my Rao's plan in season 1 where I've been passing around information to give the other side, info on what to do.
That's it. At least that's for me anyway.
Oh, I thought you were going to hit me with something. Sorry, you switch all the windows around and you're doing like this, like you're going into heavy research mode or something.
No, because I thought for a second, no, it couldn't be so simple as Rao is French for king, which also means that Ray is Spanish for king. And it's like, no, it can't be that way. Rao means something completely different.
Sorry, my mind wandered for a second. I'm watching the 9-hour breakdown of Mega Man Battle Network and Mega Man Star Force, and a lot of that is when they say a character's name, and they say, oh, it's this in English, but in Japanese it's translated to this, and this actually means this in Japanese, so it's actually this, and it's like, sometimes they're the same meaning, and sometimes they're not the same meaning.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. Again, for me, the more interesting factor is that literally at the very end of last episode, we saw Ray say a thing, and then it went to Rao's face saying the last part of it. And it's like, oh.
Yeah. Kira must die.
Yep, because as I said with Durandal and Lacus, everyone needs a particular foil to focus everything at the very end, so we, the dumbest part of the audience, knows what's going on. Because if you weren't able to understand all the politics and everything, here at the end, we're going to make sure that even you are happy. Because you're going to know Durandal wants to kill Lacus. I know where Lacus is at. I know where Durandal's at. I can follow this. All right. Well, all that said, nothing left to do but to hop on into it.
But before we get started,
Make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
on top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
私たちはつい1000年にも大きな戦争を経験しました。そしてその時にも誓ったはずでした。こんなことはもう二度と繰り返さないと。
Those stations look pretty silly when they get blown up that way. Oh, we're going back to this.
本当にこれは
Well, remember the last two episodes also? Well,
Yeah.
2 episodes ago was a big old recap at the beginning.
でもかがりは今泣いているんだ。こんなことになるのが嫌で今泣いているんだぞ。
だがそれももう終わりにする。
Yeah, she could have gone to the orb and put a stop to it, but no.
I mean, I just hate main character syndrome like that. Kigali's crying right now. Bitch, hundreds of people across the world are being killed in this war every second. I don't care about one person crying.
あんたが裏切るから。
全ての答えは皆が自身の中にすでに持っている。
I mean, if Shin was on the radio, let me tell you about this work camp of people that I freed. They were all crying too. What's Kigali doing about that?
私は人類存亡をかけた最後の防衛策としてデスティニープランの導入実行を今ここに宣言いたします。
キラヤマト、リーダム、行きます。
I mean, the theme name here, of course. Kira is freedom, right? He says he's supposed to be fighting for, and after it's justice. But justice for whom, though? That's interesting.
行きます。
Yeah, I mean, justice is subjective.
キラヤマト、お前の存在だけは許さない。
I do appreciate through literally no effort of our own.
Yeah,
You know the overlay, right?
hmm
I'm Rao, and technically it looks like I'm back in action, sort of.
Yeah.
And you're Mu, who
Mhm.
cheated death, literally, because as we know, you were animated to be dead, and then
Mhm.
retconned, post HD
Yeah,
remaster, to come back.
But I also played as Mu, I played the role Neo, which was the standing for Rao, about half or more of this series, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if I was you, I would have preferred to have been drawn as Neo. He had the better uniform.
Yeah.
But either way, we're both characters that have, well, I mean, less so for me with Rao, cheated death.
Mhm.
I've cheated death in the way that you would say my kids have made me immortal.
Yeah.
My bloodline continues.
Yeah.
My failed bloodline of dying early.
Yeah.
Might as well call me a Windemirian.
Hmm.
See, my hope is that if I keep making references to the other shows that we watch, people will be like
People
wanting
will
to
think, yeah.
investigate. Yeah.
What is that? With the what? Hmm.
Let me Google Windemirian.
Yeah.
Macross Delta. Wait a second, they're watching
Huh.
Macross Delta. Let me see what that's about.
Yeah. Macross Delta does have a movie, right?
There's
No, like
3
the
movies.
crossover. 3 movies, yeah.
Well,
Interesting.
2 movies and a short film, I think. I don't remember. I have it
Yeah.
obviously
And
in
a
my
crossover-
watch order list.
I know it has a crossover with.
Don't tell me.
Frontier.
Don't. Oh, damn it. I'm trying to tell you not to tell me. I don't know what any of the stuff is. I'm trying not to know. Okay, you couldn't more clearly make it. He's a new type. They did the like spark thing that Amuro
Yeah, remember
got.
he could do that. No, but Kira could do that with
No, he didn't do that with Seed.
Rao. No,
Oh.
he did it with Rao.
Did he do it with Rao? I know Mu did it with Rao. 'Cause remember, we were talking
And
about
no,
the whole.
in the last
we were
fight,
talking about
Kira
were they
did it
clones or something way back when. Sorry, during the show, not the movie.
温度はない。
Oh, he wants to kill everybody from Orb, I guess.
軍接近数20グリーン18ブラボー
Well, it's a shame 20 NPCs can't take on one main character. Also, the fact that we've seen Meteor can shoot 20 people at once. Well, that scene from the opening.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, NPCs have worse than Stormtrooper aim.
Yeah.
It's literally,
they did hit him.
it's literally so bad. It's literally so bad. We don't put them in the same shot as the character. That way, they can just fire off screen, and we don't have to see where the shots go. Even though technically this is space, and the shot should go on forever. Ravensworth. Just love that name, Ravensworth.
Yeah. Is that one of the orb guys that I
No.
joined with Kagale?
No. That was a zaft guy, for one thing. I mean, conceivably, you've got a super fucking weapon. You could destroy it from anywhere. You could, like, ignore these guys for half a second. I legit don't have anybody left that I care about in Orb. That's me as Shin, not me as me. Although I'd be hard-pressed to think maybe Kigali, that's it. I mean, technically, the Minerva doesn't have the Tannhauser anymore. You let Mu shoot that off for some reason. I mean, it doesn't speak much to your skill that it takes two of you to lock one person down. Nothing decries command like,
でもそれではエターナルがこの船よりもオーブです。
どうすんのイザーク。エターナルを援護する。ザフトの船だ。あれは。なるほど。
what is going on with his helmet?
オーブはプラントに対する最後の砦です。
He's got this giant bulb thing on the front of his helmet.
絶対に守らなくてはなりません。私たちはそのためにここにいるのです。だから言ってください。アスラ、ラミアス艦長。さあ、早く。
わかった。ではまた後で。必ず。ああ、必ずな。
Not to be pessimistic, but I really do hope most of these characters die.
艦長。
No, just give us like a fresh start when it comes to the movie.
何をやっている。
Because you also remember that the motif of Gundam is the horrors of war. And I say
Yeah.
this every season, or every show. If everyone survives, then what's the horror? If the only people that have to pay a price are nameless NPCs, then you've made me care about the people.
あと少しだぞ。レクイエムを守りきれ。
ええ、わかっています。
Then the people you make me put all my emotionality into don't suffer then I feel like I get out the show scot-free. Did he watch Kira kill Rao?
I don't know.
I mean,
Probably.
that could be a thing. That'd be motivation. I mean, it feels like the implication is that he was old enough to have been around for that.
Yeah.
It would also give him and Shin both revenge motives, rather. I think he fought Rao twice. All of twice.
Yeah.
Like once at the start of Heliopolis, and then once at the end of the show. It's not like when Amuro fights Char, who's been fighting against him the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like, I fought this guy once.
Yeah, but they still kind of recognized them when they did fight.
Sorry, it looks like you're having a stroke.
Yeah.
やれやれ忙しいなキリがねえぜこりゃいい加減にフリーダムは何をやっているなんだよ助けてほしいのか違うわバカ者
I guess it's also one of my problems with fight scenes like this.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are here to know if these
There.
losses are worth anything, or how many ships are out there and where they are in position to one another.
何やす艦長
陣形を立て直してレクイエムを早くミネルヴァブルーアルファ距離16
ミサイル来ます
Also, how are they planning to actually do anything
ゴッドフリート小銃
to the,
The shields, I guess, somebody has to bypass the shield.
well, it feels like what they were doing at Artemis in Season 1, which again, you
Yeah.
didn't see because Artemis wasn't even in the movie. But they literally had to send a cloaked unit in when the shields were down, because they didn't keep the shields
Yeah.
running all the time. And the cloaked unit then starts destroying the emitters.
Yeah.
お姉ちゃんやめて
Artemis was an asteroid that had a whole shield network around it.
Yeah.
なんであなたがメイリンをよくもメイリンを
やめろルナマリア
逃げるな
くそ下がれ君を撃ちたくない
何よ
時間がないんだ
Technically, it's the Impulse. They can send replacement parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
この裏切り者がシン大丈夫かルナ
シン
あんたって人は
You're the worst.
Fucking Atherin. I'm laughing because he's throwing the get over here thing.
Yeah.
And all of Atherin's previous Gundams have all been about grabbing people. It's weird.
シンアスラ
ステーション2ポジションまで100ネオジェネシスパワーチャージ 60%
まだ沈まないのか
Yeah, it's the same percentage that Gibril tried to fire it at one last time.
Yeah.
最新報告は今だ
パープル1からグリーン2にオレンジ警報が発令されました
X-ray ノベンバースタブロスサイトのリンクが回復しません
So we faded away into darkness. I thought we were about to get some sort of like Ghost Rao comes up and talk to him or thing.
Yeah.
しかしすごいものだな
Oh, never mind. That was right.
Yeah.
Oh, sort of right. Didn't talk.
Yes. Yeah.
Unless, sorry, maybe it's an element of me not hearing it. Did he say this is incredible, or did Ghost Rao say this is incredible?
戦い
He's incredible, and Rao said, "What is it? What is just this
人は
battle?"
本当に戦うのが好きだな。
君は違うのだ。
私は勝ちたいだけだ。戦いたいわけではない。
Fair enough.
But then you shouldn't have fired the Requiem.
He says, I just want to win. I don't particularly want to fight. Like, fair enough. That's the best part. Yeah, just want to get to the end.
だが勝てないものもある。
あ
Cool. You could have used a better example than me getting cucked.
あ、戦っても勝てない
Oh, so now he decides to kill everybody.
That says
This is
Ghost
him.
Rao convinced him to go genocidal.
君は誰だ。
Yeah.
I'm gonna end war one way or the other.
どうしても得られない なら人はなぜ生きる
Yeah, he's going through the process.
なぜ生まれる
It's either that or he's just hearing Rao's ideology.
はずだ。ただそれを知るためにだと。君は気に入らんかもしれんが。わかるだろう、お前には。俺はラウル・クルーゼだ。
So maybe I was right the whole time.
ああ
Maybe he's just in
気
there.
に入らないね
The whole brain scan technology thing.
Yeah.
私はごめんだ君のようにあがくな
All the stuff with him and Talia would be so much better if we hadn't seen them fucking in like episode 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it makes kind of it all pointless. Like, yeah, I just dab her whenever I want.
人の夢、人の未来、その素晴らしき結果、キラヤマト。ならばお前も今度こそ消えなくてはならない。俺たちと一緒に。生まれ変わ
Oh, now she's seed mode too?
I guess so.
Not that it does much for her.
ねえ、ラウは
ラウはもういないんだ
なぜ
だが君もラウだそれが君の運命なんだよ
Did he need the pills or didn't he not need the pills?
Remember back to my thing about the uncounted extended?
Oh yeah, he needed. Yeah.
Could be he's also an extended.
No.
Oh, that wouldn't make sense though if he's coordinator.
それが過去だ。だからもう終わらせる。これまでは全て。そしてあるべき。
How much of this episode is flashback?
Yeah.
世界は
Care more about Durka than I do Hilda. Throwing that out here.
Yeah.
Again, being in seed mode and just sitting there in silence is nothing for anybody.
命は何にだって一つだ。
Not me.
その命は
Or Moo.
彼じゃない。
What'd I say? Did not expect him to be in the movie.
Oh, he's not dead. I don't think so.
Even if he was.
応援グリーン
Expect to see them baby in the movie. I'm Rao. Kill you.
置特定不能。シールドが突破できなければオブは
俺が行く。村雨一個招待ついてこい。
Even if Moose sacrifices his life to save Orb, it will have been cheapened by the fact that he sacrificed his life in Season 1 and came out alive.
過去に囚われたまま戦うのはやめるんだ。そんなことをしても何も戻りはしない。何を。なのに未来まで殺す気かお前は。分かってる分かってるさ。だから世界はもう変わらなきゃいけないんだ。
I say, how many people have gotten fridged
now I
just to
know
make sure that
why-
Shin has this feeling?
Yeah. Now I know why they were able to separate this into 2 episodes. All the flashbacks.
そして全てを壊し未来も殺す。お前が欲しかったのは本当にそんな世界か。力か。
Wouldn't be Gundam if we didn't get into philosophical arguments in the middle of fighting. Really, that's what separates normal pilots from Gundam pilots. Normal pilots have to focus on what they're doing.
それは弱さだ。それでは何も守れない。だけど
Really, don't be swayed by this, Shin. I know, even though you're on the wrong side right now, technically, if Durandal does win... Oh, are you about to
Kill.
slice her in half?
Double seed? There's another seed he could pull out of reserve?
No, I don't think Athrun went seed mode. Either that or Lunamaria did. Man, when you kick someone so hard, the soul flies out of their body. Bullshit protagonist powers.
I mean, he's not supposed to be dead. He's just knocked out, I guess.
Yeah, typically you see the ghosts of,
Oh,
of people when
well,
you're
dead
alive,
people,
right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess technically you do. No, I was sorry. Got distracted mid-thought because I didn't want to talk over the whole thing that was happening.
Mhm.
The element is that Shin's whole point is I don't want to see anybody else die to this kind of shit anymore. And technically Durandal's thing is the exact path to that. If nobody has the free will to fight, they won't have the free will to die in a fight. So
Yeah, but without free will, are you really alive?
doesn't matter. That's not his angle. His angle isn't what
Well-
is life. His angle is I'm not going to have this happen to anybody anymore. I'm not going to let this happen. If that means I'm going to lock you in a basement, I'm going to lock you in a goddamn basement.
Yeah,
So
that's
there's
not
elements
great.
of this that really remind me of Infinite Rivals a lot.
この道しかない。願いを叶えたいのなら、そう信じた時から突き進んできた道。それぞれの思いを乗せて、
Well,
今
spoilers.
方向を向く
Yeah.
撃った者は、そして撃たれた者は。次回、機動戦士ガンダムシードデスティニー。選ばれた未来。新たな時へ飛び立てガンダム。
And I was going to say, Infinite Rivals is a character whose girlfriend gets, I think it's heavily implied to be SA. But it could just be also some, prison level shit that happens to her. And he goes fucking insane and tries to make it so 0% of violence will be tolerated on the ship, to the point where he takes control of the mecha of the show and says, if anybody commits any sort of crime anywhere, I will destroy the ship and kill everybody.
Yeah, that's a bit too much.
And he keeps the girl, she wants to stay in the room because he wants her to stay in the room, but essentially locked off from everybody so she'll never be hurt again. As I'm saying, it's an extreme. 0% of crime will be tolerated. And God forbid, everybody on the ship is fucking horrible. So literally, they're like beating people up for no goddamn reason. Even under the "I will kill everybody on the ship if you do anything," nobody learns any goddamn lessons.
Yeah, well,
I'm just saying, it just feels very similar to that emotion. I will do everything it takes to make sure nobody suffers this way again, no matter what.
okay.
But again, though, it's the debate we've already had. The free will
Yeah, but-
element is not part of it. If you make it part of it in your arguments, I don't think it is.
I think it goes to the heart of the argument, at least from my point of view.
You've made it the
but-
heart of your argument is my problem, and it's not part of the discussion of the show. Well, I guess it is the part of the discussion of the show. It hasn't been implied to be true, though.
Yeah. Again, the show doesn't do a good job of illustrating its points, any of its points.
Again, that's why I would love a season 3 where the thing happened, and we saw the two factions.
But I guess I can see how they were able to stretch it into 2 episodes because they had so much I'm blanking on the word right now.
Well, I mean, the thing
you
is,
know.
the next time on literally shows us in the ruins of the Messiah having a
Mhm.
shootout, and it's like, oh, well, don't need to care about the rest of the space fight now.
Yeah.
Especially when we also just saw like everybody on the bridge of the Eternal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay, well, nothing happens to them.
Yeah. And it's implied that Ray survived?
I don't
I
know.
don't think he got killed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess he was on the thing. So yeah, I think it's more. Well, Shin. You mean Shin survived because Shin was in that shot
Mhm.
too.
So,
Not that much matters. Like I said, I was invested in the politics of what was going on. I was invested in the characters, and then they didn't do anything for like 15 episodes, and then they all went fucking crazy.
speculation and hearsay. That's what they have.
Yeah, but they've all acted
Interesting.
upon it, so at this point it doesn't matter. Also, Durandal
Mhm.
fired a super weapon. Like,
Yeah.
at some point, I guess that's what it goes to. It doesn't matter if he did the break the world anymore. It doesn't matter who real Lacus is. It's all behind us after you shoot the super weapon, right? It's like,
Mhm.
but I thought he was Gandhi. Well, he pushed the red nuke button. It doesn't matter who he is anymore. He
Yeah.
fired the nukes. But I thought Jesus was supposed to be a good guy. Well, what do you know? Turns out Jesus was in Wuhan. Yeah. He let out the virus.
So yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about this episode. Not really. I have final thoughts about the whole series when we go to probably next episode, but this one, not so much.
Well, as I said, this episode's a lot of space fight, and space fights don't mean anything to me. Unless you're doing it really well, like if there's a limited scope of characters, like way back when it was just Minerva versus can't remember what the name of the Phantom Pain ship was. You know, literally it's 1 for 1. Whatever happens on one ship, then we see what happens on the other ship, and then the ships together. It's a very limited scope fight. So like when somebody, we need to fire a tow cable this thing, so we'll pull ourselves around the rock. It's like, oh, pretty cool. Like I know exactly where everyone is. I know what every shot means. I know what every consequence that matters. I know what it's going to pay off for. Huge space fights where you're like, oh, we have like 100 mobile suits out here, and we're actually kind of spread out between like 3 different areas, and then also we have a couple, like 3 capital ships worth of crew, and then a bunch of NPC ships, and then it's like, what does anything matter at that point? You just destroyed 5 mobile suits in one shot. Cool. Was that near anything, or because like, your background is all just space all the time? So was that even in the
It's
same
supposed
shot?
to be the spectacle of it all. I think that's what they're going for.
Spectacle is spectacle. It loses meaning the more of it you see.
Because, for example, if you think about the gigantic fights at the end of 79, you knew what was at stake. They were going to attack the base. They were, going and, you got in from like, oh, they're coming in, they're pushing on this side, and so, yes, it gave you a sense of scope, but you also had time for the protagonists to do their thing.
The
Right?
difference there is that the big fights at the end of 79 were the first big fights. Because before that, it was a bunch of like, okay, we've got like 5 suits on the ground versus 3 suits that are on our side. Or, we've got 3 gauze that have launched like maybe 20, whatever the fighter things are called. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ball?
You know,
Yeah.
No, not the ball, the fighter things. Gauze don't watch balls. The balls would just fall to the
Yeah.
ground if that was the case.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
wrong side, because the Gauze are Xeon forces.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, though, the biggest fights, pre the end giant big fights, weren't that big by comparison. And even then, they never showed the scope, like Jaburo, Char's Assault on Jaburo. Pretty big in that it's like all the North American forces have come down for this. But the scope is like a hallway. So we know exactly where everything is and who's there.
Well, outside is a big fight, and then they focus down
That's
on,
literally what
on the
I just said.
infiltration team.
Literally what I just said, Lessons. I said
Yeah.
it's a massive fight. Literally all the North American forces. Outside, it's a big fight. That's what I just said. But the scope is a hallway where our characters are at, so we know everything that's involved. Literally, I just said that. Anyway, my point is that you brought up the end of 79 being a massive scope battle as a comparison to what I'm saying here about not being invested. That was our big battles. And then, you know what came of that? Consequence. Because it was a battle of attrition. We saw the debris floating around. The attrition even plays to our main characters. White Base gets taken out. The Gundam gets taken out. Right? None of that shit ever happens here, because it's never of consequence. This is just spectacle. Flashing lights and moving parts. It was literally my main complaint about watching the end of Season 2, I think, of Gundam 00, is like the big battles there, where one episode, okay, we took out all of the guys on one side. Second episode, okay, we took out all the guys on the other side. You know, all we did was, in the course of 2 giant space battles, was narrow down the fight to our main characters. It's like, okay, cool. What was the point? Yeah. You could have just not brought those characters and had the main characters, and I would have been invested in the fight.
I mean, it could be done better. And also the fact that the whole setup of this fight in the first place is guy who was playing it smart decided to just start blowing up people, and you're like, the plot just went.
Well, yes, Lessons, I think you've probably summarized the last 10 minutes of what I've been saying in it could have been done better. I believe that is probably the summation of my argument.
No, what I mean is you can have a big fight, but each one of those fights, and I'm summarizing a little bit of what you said, each one of those fights has to have a plot meaning, and it has to be visually trackable. Here, there's so much going on that is like, okay, those guys are fighting there, and that guy's here, and then this. It's very confusing. It's very a lot of explosions, and wow, they're fighting, but it's like, okay, okay, just show me a single map of, like, very simple. Durandal is in the command center, right? He has a map. Oh, these forces are going here, here, here. Okay, cool. 5 seconds of that would at least clarify.
I disagree on that element, but I agree with what you're saying. Trackable stuff. I'm saying you probably could make like a checklist for things that a massive battle needs to have in order to make it satisfying. Because my problem here is what I'm realizing is that space is the problem. Because I'm thinking like, say like a Lord of the Rings fight. You know where people are at because you have background to tell them, like, oh, those two are fighting up on the parapets. These guys are fighting down on the ground. These guys are fighting in the middle space between those two areas. It's like, okay, I know where everyone's at. If they get in trouble there and jump down, I automatically know they will be in the other area. It's in between that the other guys are at. I know where these things connect, and I know when the bad guys try to circle around to go up top, they're heading to the parapets. In space, it's 360 nothing. Unless you expect me to recognize the stars in the background, nothing matters. I would also say characters of import would be another thing. When they show us shots of a beam firing into a group of nobodies and destroying them, that's a group of nobodies. What do I care about the random Urukai outside the battlefield, right? So that is meaningless. That's literally erase that. You did a bad job. I don't need that. I also, not for nothing, maybe a Gundam only concern. Gundams that look so much more different from one another. If you got 2 Gundams that are red, or you have 2 Gundams that are white and blue, When you're moving all around and doing shit, very hard to tell. I'm not reading the technical manuals. I don't know, oh, that's right, this one has a bump on its right leg that this other one doesn't have. Not going to spot that in the middle of a fight. Listen, there's probably a checklist you could make.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty confusing here. I mean, the fights to destroy especially the early ones to destroy the parts of the Requiem, those were better choreographed because you had something fighting. We're aiming for this. Everybody's fighting for this. We got to knock it out. Before the laser comes in, and nobody was fighting on the other place. In fact, only the Minerva went to attack the Requiem base, so you don't have a lot of confusion there, right?
No, the Minerva's protecting the Requiem.
No. In the original fights for the Requiem, when Requiem was still under the control of Logos.
We're talking about this, so I thought you were still talking about this.
No, but I'm giving an example of how it could be done better even within the show, right? You have a focus. Oh, we have to do certain damage to this. We have to knock it out. There's a time limit. Then Minerva is doing its own thing. And it's like, okay, Minerva is in the moon. These guys are in orbit. We're closing in. Okay, we know the stakes because we've already seen the weapon fire. Cool, right? Here it's like everybody seems to be in the same space because the space station is over here and Requiem is over here. So there's sort of like a giant furball of people dying all over the place, right? I mean, none in NPCs, right? But still.
Right. That's, again, my point. It's good for scope of battle for there to be a lot of people on the battlefield, right? That tells us how involved the fight is. It is also just a visual mess to try and understand what's happening where. Like, can you imagine trying to play this on a board game?
Yeah, that would be difficult.
Yeah, you'd be in a mess. It'd be impossible to tell what the hell was going on until, you attrition your way through. It's like, okay, we got 2 people left. This is the worst game of chess. You ever been in a game of chess where it's, I've got a king and you've got a king? How did we get here? We are bad at chess. Like, what do you do? I got you into the corner, I guess. I mean, you can't make a move without losing. How did you even get back into a corner with a king on king? That is just a forever match.
But there you have it. It was this episode.
I guess that's how you really know when the episode sucks.
Yeah.
When you wrap up with, there you go, that was this episode. I think you have to say that the best episodes are ones where like, if we don't stop talking now, we're never going to stop. The ones where, we got too much to talk about. Well, that was this episode. All right. Well, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?